Welcome back to the Basic Immunology Showdown, the quiz show where antibodies are high affinity, contestants are long lived, and the only thing we neutralize is misinformation. Today's topic is on the HPV vaccine effects on cervical cancer. Let us meet our contestants. HPV, B cells, T cells, HPV vaccine, representing all HPV vaccines made thus far. The game works as follows. Whoever can buzz in first is free to answer whatever is available on the panel. However, questions are kept hidden and the contestants must answer correctly. Round 1, go. First in line for tonight's show is HPV. Please pick any category and number available on the panel.
I will choose HPV for $800.
HPV for $800. What is HPV?
HPV stands for human papillomavirus, a common virus that can cause specific types of cancers later in life, such as cervical cancer. HPV is spread through intimate skin-to-skin contact, and HPV can be transmitted through vaginal, anal, or oral sex with an individual with the virus, even if they do not show signs or symptoms. There are different types of HPV categorized as non-oncogenic, causing warts, or oncogenic, causing cancer. The HPV types are based on whether or not they put the individual at risk for cancer. 9 out of 10 HPV infections can go away by themselves within 2 years, but there are times when the HPV infections will last longer because of the cancer. In America, every year, HPV alone causes around 36,000 cases of cancer in both men and women.
That is correct. HPV now has $800. Keep in mind, the player who wins the most amount of money keeps their winnings. One wrong move and you will lose all your earnings. Round 2, go. HPV vaccine, you are up next.
I'll choose natural infection for $600.
Natural infection for $600. What is the innate immune system's involvement and response when encountering the HPV vaccine?
The innate immune system acts as the first line of defense. The HPV vaccine contains virus-like particles, or VLPs, and an adjuvant, aluminum hydrophosphate sulfate. The injection and adjuvant cause inflammation, which triggers the release of DAMPs. The adjuvant will stimulate PRRs, which recognize the aluminum adjuvant as a PAMP. This chain of events recruits innate immune cells, such as neutrophils, macrophages, and arguably the most important in this case, dendritic cells to the infection site. The dendritic cells will use toll-like receptors such as TLR2 to bind to a PAMP, which will lead to dendritic cell maturation and upregulation of MHC class II molecules.
That is correct. HPV vaccine now has $800. All right, who would like to go next? Round 3, go.
I will. I choose B cells for $400.
B cells for $400. Explain how and why B cells are activated once the HPV vaccine has been administered.
After injection, L1 VLPs drain into the regional lymph nodes, where naive mature B cells require 3 signals to be activated. First, the VCR binds to the L1 on the VLP. Then the VLP is opsonized by complement. And lastly, the B cell presents L1 peptides to CD4 plus T cells. Once activated by T cells, the B cell migrates back to the primary follicle, making a secondary follicle, or germinal center, where B cell proliferation, somatic hypermutation, affinity maturation, isotype switching, and AID expression occur. In the germinal center, isotype switching is determined by DNA recombination so that the heavy chain constant region switches from IgM, IgD to IgG, the most effective type. HPV vaccination selected for high affinity, class-switched L1 specific IgG B cells. These cells differentiate into long-lived plasma cells, LLPCs, which continuously secrete neutralizing IgG and memory B cells that respond quickly to re-exposure.
That is correct. Who's up next? Round 4, go.
I'll do T cells for $200.
T cells for $200. What is the role of CD4 plus T helper cells, especially T follicular helper cells, in supporting germinal center reactions and long-term memory, as well as any relevant CD8 plus T cell involvement?
Dendritic cells at the injection site, endocytosis antigen, migrate to the lymph node and activate CD4 and CD8 T cells after PAMP stimulation. The 3 signals required for activation are MHC TCR with co-receptor CD4, co-stimulatory B7, CD28, and cytokine activation IL-2, which drives clonal expansion. A subset of CD4 positive T cells differentiates into TFH cells, which localize to germinal centers and provide CD40L, IL-21, and IL-4, thereby facilitating AID expression, affinity maturation, class switching, and promoting the development of LLPCs and memory B cells. Dendritic cells can also cross-present on VLP antigens on MHC1 and activate CD8 positive T cells. For the prophylactic L1 VLP HPV vaccines, the main protection is a high-affinity neutralizing IgG from LLPC, which reaches the cervical mucosa, binds to L1 on HPV virions, and blocks infection or disease by preventing viral entry into basal epithelial cells. CD8 plus T cells provide a supportive backup layer. However, it is this coordinated T-dependent B-cell response that interrupts persistent high-risk HPV infection, lowering cervical cancer risk.
That is correct. Round 5, go.
HPV vaccine for $600.
HPV vaccine for $600. What are the different types of HPV vaccines and what are they effective against?
There are 3 types. Cervix, which is good at preventing cervical and other related cancers from types 16 and 18. Gardasil, which prevents against cancers from type 16 and 18, and genital warts from type 6 and 11. And then Gardasil 9 offers the broadest form of protection against major cancer-causing types like 16 and 18, plus additional high-risk types like 31, 33, 45, 52, and 58. And protects against wart-causing types 6 and 11. Gardasil 9 is also the predominantly used HPV vaccine in the United States. It covers the broadest range of HPV types, including other high-risk types, prevents persistent infection, and cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, or CIN, which are precancerous conditions caused by HPV. The HPV vaccine is most effective when administered at a young age and prior to any infection or HPV exposure.
It looks like we have a tie between HPV and HPV vaccine. For the tiebreaker, if you get it wrong, you will lose it all. If you get it right, you will gain double the amount of money. Who is willing to risk it? Final round. Go.
To risk it, let me switch it up a bit and pick the category altogether for $1,000.
For the last question of the night, under Altogether for $1,000, how is the HPV vaccine advantageous?
Trick question. The HPV vaccine has nothing against me.
That is incorrect. HPV, you have lost all your points. The correct answer is all 3 vaccines provide 90 to 95% protection against HPV. They elicit strong B cell and T cell dependent responses. Around 70% of cervical cancers are caused by HPV 16 and HPV 18, which are the strains targeted by all 3 vaccines. They also reduce CIN2 lesions, CIN3 lesions, and adenocarcinoma in situ, which are the precursors to cervical cancer. Overall, the vaccine offers stronger immunity against HPV infection and is beneficial in preventing cervical cancer. With this being said, our winner is HPV vaccine.